Good morning, friends, and welcome back to North Lawn. Well, it is the most wonderful week here in Pennsylvania because all of the peonies have started to open, and I'm going to be setting up the flower stand all week, and I want to take you along for the journey. I think I'll do this vlog style, so let me show you what's going out first thing Saturday morning. Today I'm just putting out 3 bouquets in the morning, and what I like to do with peonies, and I've learned this over the years, is only put out a few bouquets at a time. All of the peonies that you see, with the exception of that one and that one, were in tight bud about an hour ago, and just in the time it took me to arrange these flowers, they've started to open, and all the rest that I cut from this plant are still inside. So what I like to do is just put out 3 at a time so that all the peonies aren't blowing open at the flower stand all at once, and then we'll replenish them as needed. These are the hellebores with the variegated foliage. We have some Orlea, and then some sensation alliums that are actually buried behind the garden library. So this is a really nice use of plants that I don't even see in the garden. The hellebores are completely covered up by hydrangeas now. This Orlea popped up near our Nellie Stevens holly. The allium, like I said, you can't see, it's behind the library. So the only thing I'm missing from the garden is the peonies. So let's get these out to the stand, and then I'll see you in a few hours' time. It's the next day, and I took all the remaining peonies and made an arrangement for the garden library. Since it was 82 degrees yesterday and full sun, a lot of the peonies blew open at the flower stand, and you can see they're pretty worse for the wear at this point. But I wanted to walk you quickly around the gardens because a lot of other peonies have opened. Now I'm waiting on my white peonies to open because those are the next ones that we're going to sell together. Right behind the Bistro set, we have Carl Rosenfield and Felix Kraus. The only thing is, when I planted these, I didn't keep a good record of which one was which. So let me know if you can tell which one is which. I remember that I planted them every other, so it either goes Felix Kraus, Carl Rosenfield, Felix Kraus, or Carl Rosenfield, Felix Kraus, Carl Rosenfield. This one is a little fuller and doesn't show the pollen quite as quickly. And then this one over here does seem to show its pollen straight away, and it's a little more open with less layers of petals. But overall, I just love this vibrant color right here in the main flower walk. I love vivid colors in the garden. And I like that spirea glowing behind it. Isn't that lovely? With the ambassador alliums in the back. I think it would be nice to add more of this color peony into the left side of the main flower walk. We just have the white Festiva Maxima peonies floating all the way through the main flower walk, but this color is just so gorgeous. What do you think? Should we add some in here? Things are filling in nicely in the main flower walk. I think the main thing that I want to change is I want to push these calla lilies back a little bit, and I want to come in with a drift of Roseanne geraniums right here. It turns out I really don't like that upright foliage right at the edge of the garden border, so we'll fix that and make it look a little bit softer, because if I look at this side of the border, I absolutely love it. I don't think I would do anything differently on this side of the border aside from add a raspberry peony or 2. But this side of the border I seem to always struggle with. Something is just a little bit off and I can never really figure out exactly what it is. But in terms of peonies in this garden, we do have Festiva Maxima. So here's one that I divided last year. And this one just smells amazing. A beautiful clear white peony with hints of raspberry on the interior. So since this one's in the forefront, I don't cut from it, but you can see that we have a Festiva Maxima peony over there that's pretty much hidden from view. So when I go to sell cut peonies, that's the plant that I cut from. All these peonies that are kind of hidden behind other shrubs, those are the ones that I sell. And then the ones that you see at the edge of the border, I just use for garden enjoyment. And here is the most special peony in all of my garden. This peony comes directly from my grandma's garden. I dug this up with my mom and my Aunt Maria many years after she passed. I'm not sure what the variety is. Some people were saying Shirley Temple. I was looking up some other varieties that seemed similar, and Lady Alexandra Duff seemed quite similar to this one. So what do you guys think? Shirley Temple, Lady Alexandra Duff? I'm not sure, but of course, just like all peonies, it gets bigger and better every year. And I love it paired with the thalictrum, the alliums, and the geraniums. This is really turning into a nice space. I'll never forget digging up this peony root because it was the last time I was ever able to dig up something from my grandma's garden before my family sold the house. And I remember getting this really small piece of a peony root, and I was not sure that I got enough to even start a plant with because I thought I had pierced the end of it. So whether I did pierce it and it calloused over or whether I just got enough of the root, I'm just so glad to have this peony in my garden. We're looking at the hydrangea room, and the sensational honeysuckle has started to bloom this week, and the fragrance is out of this world. If I could have this sensational honeysuckle growing up every single arch and trellis in the garden, I certainly would, because it looks beautiful and smells phenomenal. So here we have some peonies, but you can see I've hidden them from view so I don't have to feel too bad about cutting them. And once again, whether or not this is Carl Rosenfield or Felix Krauss, I'm not sure, but they're both a lovely raspberry color. The hydrangeas have started to bud up. The Mount Everest alliums are starting to go over. But this is one of my favorite times in the garden, when you have the purples and the oranges and the vibrant magentas and the vibrant raspberries. I just love it all. Now I'm getting ready to head out for a few meetings today, but before I do that, I really want to take you over to the driveway garden. We'll walk by the Nellie Stevens holly together. And look at this view, friends. This garden has really come a long way since we started on it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I love that we landed with a more formal garden. We were able to paint a picture that we can just enjoy. I don't have to worry about fussing with this garden too much. At this point, it's really taking care of itself. I didn't even mulch it this year. Since it's prime peony week here in Pennsylvania, I thought I'd take you over to a local cut flower peony farm. I'm going to link their website in the description section below. You're allowed to enter their field for a donation of $5, and just wait until you see all of the amazing peonies that they have. Each bloom is more beautiful than the next. There's some lovely places to sit and just enjoy being with the peonies. She sells them for $3 a stem, or 10 stems for $28, which is a very fair price in our area. In these 2 rows we have Coral Charm. Coral Charm has to be the most exquisite peony on the market. This row is full of Princess Bride, which is a beautiful clear white peony. And I love how they have their paths laid out. I'm guessing the area where they're growing the peonies is about maybe 2.5 feet wide. The walking path looks about, I would say, 4 feet wide. It looks like 2 rows of Princess Bride. This row is full of Henry Boxtos. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's a fantastic crimson peony. If you like red, this would be a great peony to add into your garden. I think I read on their website that they have 3,000 plants in total. The more I think about it, Maybe I could sell my house, tear down the house, buy a whole bunch of peony roots and just set up shop in a tent and be surrounded by peonies. That sounds like the dream life to me. Here we have Festiva maxima, a lovely white peony with just a hint of raspberry in the center. I see Sarah Bernhardt there in the distance. None of my Sarah Bernhardt are in bloom yet. The coral charm is really grabbing my attention. That's the main standout in the field at the moment. This is helpful too because you can really see which ones are early, mid, and late season in our area. Here we have pink Hawaiian coral. I think they're closed up with how cold it is today, and it's been raining on and off for the last few days. It's currently 6:45 a.m. on Wednesday. We won't be setting up the flower stand today because it's supposed to rain all day today and tomorrow. But I might go ahead and pick some of the Carl Rosenfield peonies to enjoy in our kitchen before the rain starts in about an hour. But I did want to pop over to that stand of Carl Rosenfield peonies because they've opened up even more and the color is just fantastic. I was able to do a bit of gardening yesterday. I moved around some of the geums and I popped in some new catmint from a neighbor's roadside stand to soften up that edge that I was telling you about where we had the calla lilies, and I just pushed those calla lilies back a little bit. Some of the ranunculus have just started to bloom. And I've decided to put in a hedge of hydrangeas right here at the entrance to help echo the front garden and the book nook. So whether or not I do the new, I can't remember exactly what it's called. There's a new hydrangea from Proven Winners that looks like Incredible but is supposed to be stronger. I might do that right there. If I can't get my hands on those, then we'll just repeat Incredible again. And I was doing some Googling this morning. I might have been saying Felix Kraus wrong. It might be Felix Kruse. It was a little bit hard to find pronunciation information on that particular flower. But whatever it is, and however you say it, I love, love, love this color peony. And I also just adore this view. The more I stand here and look at the garden, the more I think we definitely need some raspberry peonies on the left-hand side of the border. Let's put that at the top of our list when we're shopping for bulbs and tubers and roots in the fall. The other thing I did today was add some marine heliotrope into the garden. I've always adored heliotrope, but it is so hard to find it at the nursery. It seems like one of those annuals that if you don't get it right away, somebody else swipes the entire flat or two. So I did get a whole flat of heliotrope. I put some right at the entrance. I put some right next to our catmint here. And I've also popped in all of those raspberry dahlias that I was telling you about. But I'd love your advice on the pots. I did a light purple lantana and a heliotrope in the pots, and I'm not sure that I love it. I might pop the heliotrope out, put it in the garden borders, and replace them with, I'm thinking, orange hibiscus. So if you've ever grown orange hibiscus in a pot, and I'm speaking here about the tropical hibiscus, could you please tell me how it performed, and specifically, did it have any major pest and disease problems throughout the growing season that made it unsightly? That's the number one thing I want to know before I put them in. morning, friends. It's currently 6:45 a.m. on Friday. It's been raining for the last 2 days, but it looks like finally we have a nice day in the forecast, so I'm able to set up the flower stand again. Before I show you what I have ready to take out to the stand, I wanted to pop into the library and show you the arrangements that I made yesterday while it was raining. In this arrangement, we did catmint, lady's mantle, hellebores, some Siberian iris, baptisia, and of course the lovely Carl Rosenfield peonies. And then I popped over to our local antique store while it was raining, because what else are you supposed to do on a rainy day except go antiquing? And I found this beautiful old hand-painted vase on sale for $10. So naturally I purchased it. And in this arrangement we have Schubertii alliums, Pinball Wizard alliums, catmint, and peonies. And I think that's all I put in that arrangement. And then over here I just did a really simple arrangement with peonies, bleeding heart foliage, and catmint. And here's a picture of my grandma, my mom, and myself on my wedding day. So now that you've seen the library, let me take you over to the main entrance and I'll show you what's going out to the flower stand. Since it's Memorial Day weekend, I did red, white, and blue bouquets, or pink, purple, and white bouquets, I should say. Usually Memorial Day is a great day for selling cut flowers, not quite as good as Easter or Mother's Day, but I'm hoping for a good weekend, so let's see how it goes. Earlier this year, Roxana from Soil and Margaritas reached out to me on Instagram with questions regarding selling cut flowers at a roadside stand, and she included lots of wonderful questions for me to answer. About a week ago, I recorded a 2-hour-long video that I was going to call Flower Stand Q&A Real Talk about selling cut flowers roadside, or something like that. I recorded the video, I edited it twice, it took about a week, and upon reviewing it one last time, I've decided to trash that video. I think it was too negative. I think a lot of the things that I've experienced that have been struggles at the flower stand are very particular to me and to this area. And I only want to put out helpful information on the internet. I'm happy to talk about these matters privately, but in terms of putting it out in a video, it's probably not the right thing to do. So here's what I do want to tell you today. I want to share with you 5 things that I've changed about the actual flower stand that makes selling cut flowers roadside easier. The first change that I made is that I made the flower stand permanent. I used to use an old dining room table with pull-out sides that I would store under our covered porch, and then every time I wanted to set up the flower stand, I would have to take that table down to the side of the road, set it up, put up an umbrella, bring out the flowers, weigh them down with boxes and rocks, put my money box out there. It took me probably about at least an hour every day, taking it down and then breaking it down. And since we do get a lot of rain here, sometimes I would have to do that multiple times every day. That really wasn't working out well, and it was wasting a lot of my valuable time. About 3 years ago, I switched to a permanent flower stand. Now my flower stand is a converted outhouse. They sell these outhouses a lot around us, and I think people generally store tools in them in their backyard. My husband put a shelf in there for me so I can put flowers on the top shelf and even on the bottom shelf. I have my certifications on the bottom, my pollinator friendly garden from the Master Gardeners, no spray from multiple companies. I also have a money box attached to the door, the QR code, complimentary cards. The point being, it's permanent and everything's there that I need to set up, and I can set up in, I would say, 30 seconds. The second change that I made was the location of the flower stand. It used to be that the flower stand was located close to our driveway. Sometimes people would pull around the corner and walk down. Sometimes people would pull into the driveway and get out to purchase flowers, and sometimes people would park right in front of the stand, which would partially block traffic. In that location, I was very concerned about my customers' safety. I was concerned about people pulling onto the property, and it seemed like the natural solution was to put it on the corner since we're on a corner lot. Now that it's on the corner, people can pull right in front of the stand and they're not in the way of traffic. They can park anywhere along the side of our property, which is completely fine. And we have a full sidewalk along the property. And I would say we can fit probably maybe 40 cars along the edge of this side of the property. So having it on the corner has been really nice. The third thing that has been really helpful is having a door. Since I live in an area where it rains often, I'm able to set up the flower stand, open up the door, I just prop it open with a wood log, and then if it starts raining, but it's only going to rain say for 15-30 minutes, I can simply shut the door, put the open sign on the exterior, and people can still stop at the flower stand if they want, even in the pouring rain. And I was shocked when the first time I did this was the first time I ever tried this, closing the door and putting the open sign on the exterior. It was pouring rain, an awful storm. Somebody came and bought flowers. They just opened the door, bought them, shut it and locked it and everything. So having a door to the flower stand is really helpful. The fourth change that I made, which has been really helpful and really increased my profits, is that I added Venmo to the stand 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. This was my husband's suggestion, and he was completely right to add it to the stand. We saw that 3/4 of the people that come to the flower stand use Venmo to pay. Many days, no one pays cash. Everyone pays Venmo. It's really easy to get an account. Everyone can just scan the QR code. And I think having Venmo, who knows, but I think it may have cut down on theft because perhaps some people are coming and stealing or underpaying because they don't have the right amount of cash. But now you really don't have an excuse. Everybody has a cell phone and you can scan the code and then just go in your car and pay. And I can see that on my security cameras. And so now that brings me to my fifth point, safety and security at the flower stand. Our entire property has security cameras all over it. I can see every inch of this property at every second of the day if I want to, right on my cell phone. My phone alerts me every time that any of the cameras sense motion. It has a person detection and it has microphones. So I can really see the entire property and the flower stand at all times. I can see if someone's stealing, I can see what they look like, I can see their license plate, all that jazz. And because I want to be respectful of anyone who maybe doesn't want to be on camera, it says right there clearly on the side of my stand that this property is under 24-hour video surveillance, which in fact it is. So I made that change. I think that's cut down on theft a little bit, but we have other weird things happen on the property, so security cameras were definitely needed. Well, friends, thanks so much for joining me for this week of peonies. It sure has been fun. And the funny thing is, those white peonies that I think I talked about earlier on in the week are still not in bloom because of all the rain and because of how cold it's been. We actually had to turn the heat on last night because I think it was 43 outside. So I will see you in just a few days' time, and I hope you find yourself surrounded by some peonies today. Bye!